Hey guys, I'm back trying to make YouTube videos. It's gonna be a rough start again, but at least the good news is I have my car back. As you can see, engine's out, car's on jack stands. It's been like this for about a week. We were working on a clutch change job. If you guys were watching on Bader's video, the car was all together. It was running, it was driving. It's been on my Instagram. But before we go to tx2k, I ended up getting a XD triple disc clutch, and I wanted to install it on the car instead of run the 6-puck and risking powertrain failure, because the 6-puck is a lot more harsh on the car than the triple disc is, and the triple disc will handle a lot more torque and power, which we ended up putting a bigger turbo kit on the car, as you guys have seen in previous videos and seen on Bader's channel. And we ended up going with a Precision 7675, but it is in a 72 housing. So it'll spool a lot faster and give us still around the power output that we're really hoping for. I'm sorry, I know my garage and everything's a mess. It's been a rough couple of weeks. I ended up getting really sick and was stuck in bed for a couple of weeks. It wasn't the Rona, at least I don't think. My test came back negative, but it's still possible. But anyways, I'm gonna end up putting the engine back in the car. I already put the XD on, and it is sitting right here, nice and pretty. My old clutch, I had an ACT 6-puck clutch that ended up going to Josh in a trade for something else, and hopefully that'll work out in my favor. But anyways, this is gonna hopefully go in the car, be running today or tomorrow, and we are waiting to hear back from Junior on a tune. So anyways, the guys out at Ranchbuilt went and designed us some custom piping. This nice thick 3-inch intercooler piping that's going to be running through 5-inch ETS intercooler that we got hooked up with. Thank you, ETS, for all the work. Thank you, Ranchbuilt. On top of this, ETS hooked us up with a prototype header that is sitting on the engine for the headlight mount turbo. We're gonna see how well this works out. The deal is I gotta try and break 1,000 horse. Comes over here, our turbo's mounted up behind the headlight. The headlight will end up coming out for race days. Our up pipe goes from there, comes up, mounts up here to the turbo. I'm sorry, I know the turbo's underneath power steering pump, but turbo sits here. And we have a 3-inch to 3.5-inch exhaust that comes right out the fender and will end up screaming down the car. So that's kind of the plan that we got going for the car. I've put up some videos and stuff of cold starts, of letting the car idle, of the initial startup at out at Ranchbuilt. So my plan right now is I want to try and get this thing running here in the next, well, if I can get it running today, I'm going to try to. If not, it's going to be later this week because I work. But anyways, I'm going to set up the GoPro on a tripod and put it on a time lapse for a bit, just so that I can try and get the engine installed. We ran into some issues before, broke a pilot bearing. That was my bad. I definitely misjudged what I was doing, so my bad. I messed up. But anyways, I'm going to try and get this thing installed, work on reassembling everything, putting all the wires and everything back together. So it's going to be a bit of a cluster. But for the most part, I'm just going to have the GoPro sitting up on the camera so you guys can kind of watch and see what's going on while I'm out here working on the car. All right, let's get going. All right, and the good news is the engine's in. Made it to the transmission. Before you guys say anything, I already know Josh is going to say it to me. That was a painful install to watch. It was a painful install for me to do. But the reason being is that my dowel pin on the back of my block right here doesn't really line up like 100%. So the block was being really difficult to push back and mate. So I was going back and forth, side to side, to make sure that everything went back evenly, because I didn't want to break another pilot bearing, because screw pulling that out and having to go bug Josh for another one and having him make fun of me even more. But the good news is it's in. I'm a little out of breath from leaning over this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get underneath the car. I'm going to bolt up everything that I need to on the underside. And then start kind of reassembling the top, putting the rest of the bolts in. My next step, what I really got to do before I actually clean up anything, is make sure that I get my pilot bearing engaged. And in order to do that, I have to take the clutch fork pin, install it, and then once I do that, I'm going to have to take out my slave cylinder, and then I will grab this guy here and I will push him as far back as I can until it clicks, and then that should engage my pilot bearing to the rest of the clutch. And I have to make sure that works before I really go any further, otherwise I'm gonna have to pull this fucker back out. All right, gonna get that done. And also, sorry, also, I know I got a bunch of oil under here, but this blue oil line right here goes from the bottom of my turbo, and Ranchbuilt made it to where it goes to my oil pan. And the nice thing is, when my engine drops in, look how nicely that mates up. That is just fantastic engineering. So that's another reason why it's so hard to get it in here, is that I have to watch out for this pipe as I'm putting my engine into my bay and trying to get it to seat in the motor mounts and everything. But yeah, it's not bad. I think after, you know, some time working with it, I'll get used to it and get a lot faster at working on the car. So yeah, that's basically where I'm at. I'm gonna set the camera aside. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit so I can get underneath the car, and then I'm going to get the chain off, get the clutch fork done, and try and get this thing going, because I'm running out of daylight pretty quick. All right, right there is where your clutch fork pin goes, connects to this. I'm about to undo these two 14mm bolts, pull my slave cylinder out of the way, and pull my clutch fork lever, or clutch fork, back all the way to engage my throwout bearing. Thankfully my transmission made it very well. I got most of the bolts tight. Slowly working through this kind of without the camera on, because I don't have my clamps right now. They're inside the house. Sorry, I got music going in the background. I know I should probably turn that off, but just showing you this real quick. All right, so we made some progress. Most of my vacuum lines are hooked up. There's a few of them that I got to reroute. I'm going to try and tuck this and make it look nice and clean, the way that Josh had it. But on top of that, AMS, I appreciate your manifold. It looks good. Apparently it functions really well. But I hate the way that you designed the bolts to install it, because there's not a clear way to go straight down and tighten those bolts in. You have to get some kind of special tool. Basically what we ended up doing was we got a snap-on like pipe wrench. So it's basically what worked for me. So yeah, I'm gonna set up the camera, probably try and set it in a different spot now so that you can see a little bit better. But I'm gonna get in here, try and get the AMS manifold back on, start routing all of our hoses, you know, vacuum hoses here, This one will run down there. Afterward, I'm going to get the injectors hooked up. I have the fuel lines connected again. And then kind of loose odds and ends. It was taking me a while because Josh does a really good job of wire tucking. But when he wire tucks, he puts all of the old non-used ends together. So I have no idea what I'm looking at or what still needs a connector, because there's a bunch of connectors that are just laying there together, and it gives me anxiety. So I start searching and looking and looking and looking, and I can't find anything. So that's kind of where I was at. So for right now, what I'm going to do is finish getting the manifold connected, and then I'm going to go over all of my hoses and my wire connections again to make sure that they're kind of where they need to be. And then after that, what I'll do is I'll clamp down my exhaust. I'll probably install my AC, my power steering, put those together, clean it up to make sure that it looks like everything's connected and where it's supposed to be, get the belts on it, and then I'll probably do the radiator and my catch can. All right. So as you can see, using swivel sockets is a lifesaver most of the time. If you don't have any of these, you should probably go get some. But manifolds tightened down, I ended up having to use a fairly small, by the way, it's a 1/2 inch for these bolts. But I had to use one of these, 12 point. Make sure that it's super thin on this side so it actually fits in those crevices. But I got my manifold on, and that's how the AMS manifolds go on. I'm going to have to clean it up because my gloves and stuff are dirty. But I'll have the entire engine bay wiped down by the end of this. But at least now that it's on, I can start putting my vacuum hoses onto it and around it and routing it so that I can tuck all the wires and make it look nice and clean. So I'm about to get on top of doing that. Oh, of course it shut off as soon as I took a video. Okay, now that you can hear me, got the car together and started it up. As you can see, I was warming it up and burping the coolant system. It looks like I got a little bit of a coolant leak on the bottom hose. It's my bad. Yeah, don't think you can see down there, but the hose down, or the hose clamp down on the bottom is a little bit crooked. So that's my fault. I'll have to jack the car up, fix it real quick. But otherwise, I burped the system, got the car up to temp. Sounds healthy. It sounds a little weird with the triple disc on the whole starting up. It sounds super hollow, and I'm not used to that. So something I'm gonna have to get used to. I'm gonna jack the car up, fix that clamp real quick, and then I'm gonna start up and take it for a drive around the block just to make sure that everything's working the way it's supposed to. So that'll probably end out this video. I'm gonna shoot Josh a call after this, after I take it for a drive, and then I think I'm gonna leave the car outside the garage for the next couple days because the weather's really nice today. I might drive it to work tomorrow. I don't know. But either way, like, I need to get out of the garage so that I can clean and organize because my garage really needs it. And yeah, all right, so that's gonna end out this video. I will catch you guys later. I hope you enjoyed it and got to enjoy seeing the car again. Glad that I'm back. I'm gonna try and start making content again regularly. All right, bye.